So, let's set the scene. It's Cardassa, Giza, 2016. Think low-lying rural fields, quiet, lots of irrigation canals, these tariff.
Very agricultural, pretty isolated, and it's that isolation that probably played a role here.
Because one morning, some locals spot something.
Yeah.
Well, something really out of place in one of these canals, near the bank.
Yeah, not just debris. It was this big, heavy sack, a schwal. And you could tell, even from a distance, it was heavy, weighted.
It wasn't just floating freely. It seemed lodged, almost pinned down.
Exactly. Someone had gone to considerable effort to make sure whatever was inside stayed submerged, stayed on the canal floor. The immediate thought, obviously, was pretty grim.
A body.
Mm-hmm.
So security forces are called, they arrive, and they start the process of getting this sack out of the water.
And that's when the level of, let's call it meticulousness, really becomes clear. This wasn't just dumped.
No, not at all. The sack was bound with tons of rope, like crisscrossed, tied in really complex knots. It wasn't just functional. It felt almost obsessive.
And then there was the stone, a large, heavy stone deliberately tied to the bottom. The intention was unmistakable. Keep this hidden forever.
That level of detail, that planning.
Yeah.
It screams premeditation, doesn't it? Not panic.
Absolutely. It tells you this was personal, calculated. So they finally cut through all those layers of rope and cloth.
And it's
a human body, but it was in a really advanced state of decomposition, making identification and figuring out what happened incredibly difficult right from the start.
So you immediately have this double mystery. First, who is this person?
And second, why go to such extreme, almost Baroque lengths to conceal the body and erase her identity?
Yeah, the usual starting points just weren't there. No local missing persons reports matched, no obvious crime scene nearby. They were basically starting from zero, just with the body itself.
Well, not quite zero. The forensic team still had something to work with, despite the decomposition. The initial medical report confirmed the victim was female.
Okay. Any idea on age?
The estimate was late 20s, maybe around 28, and the cause of death was clear. Strangulation. Kanak.
But you mentioned the concealment, the meticulousness. Did the body itself show signs of that kind of intensity?
Oh, yes. And this is where it gets even darker. The report confirmed what the disposal method hinted at. The murder wasn't quick. It was the end of a period of prolonged suffering. Torture.
Torture. Before she was strangled.
Correct. Extensive bruising, contusions on her hands and feet. The pattern suggested she'd been tightly bound with ropes for quite some time before death.
Bound for a long time.
And there was something else. Forensic analysis found traces of wood fibers embedded in her skin tissues.
Wood fibers? Wait, so she was beaten? With like a stick or something?
That's the strong implication, repeatedly beaten. This wasn't a sudden rage killing. This points to planned, methodical cruelty unfolding over time.
Wow, okay. So strangulation, yes, but only after being bound and beaten.
Exactly. It paints a picture of calculated punishment, not a spontaneous act. The report also gave two other small but vital pieces of personal information.
What were they?
She had been married previously, and she had given birth at some point in her life.
So she had a family network, connections, people who should have noticed she was gone, which makes the lack of a missing persons report even stranger.
Precisely. That silence was a huge red flag in itself, and because nobody local was reporting someone like her missing, the police had to cast a much wider net, far beyond Cardassa, beyond Giza even.
How long did that take?
About 2 weeks. 2 frustrating weeks, then finally a potential break. An alert came in, but not from nearby. It was from Alexandria, Iskandaria.
Alexandria. That's quite a distance. What was the alert?
A missing persons report had been filed by an elderly man for his daughter, Shema. She was 28 years old.
Okay, age matches. But what was strange about it?
The timing, mainly.
Yeah.
He reported her missing after she'd already been gone for 2 full months, 60 days.
2 months. And he's only just reporting it.
Mm-hmm. And apparently his demeanor was off. Very calm, no real sense of urgency or suspicion towards anyone, just matter-of-factly reporting her gone for 2 months.
That is deeply suspicious. So did they connect her to the body?
They showed the father photos of the clothing found on the victim. He identified them immediately. They belonged to his daughter, Shema.
So the victim has a name, Shema. What happened when they started digging into her life? Did it explain the father's odd behavior?
It certainly started to. The picture that emerged was complex and deeply dysfunctional.
Also.
Well, investigators learned the father wasn't just a concerned parent. He was known in some circles as a pimp, a call wad, and Shema had been involved in his operations.
Okay, that changes the dynamic significantly.
It does. Her life involved multiple non-traditional marriages. She traveled a lot. The primary goal, it seems, was often financial gain, and her father knew all about this, even seemed to facilitate it.
So given the brutality, the torture, the disposal, revenge seems like a very strong motive now, rooted in this turbulent background.
Absolutely. The investigators really honed in on that. This wasn't random. This felt like payback, something deeply personal.
Did they look at her current husband, the one in Alexandria?
They did, quickly, but he seemed almost entirely indifferent. Said she often disappeared for long stretches. He considered it normal for her. He was ruled out pretty fast.
So if not the present, they looked to the past.
Exactly. That led them to her previous husband, a man named Ammar el-Shaimi. He was 38, a fairly prominent fruit and vegetable merchant, a Tajir Kodhar Wafakia. They had officially divorced about a year before Shema's disappearance, late 2015.
A fruit and vegetable merchant.
Okay.
And this is where things start clicking into place, right? The location.
Bingo. Ammar el-Shaimi owned a storage warehouse, a masan, and its location.
Let me guess. Near the canal.
Not just near it. It was located on the exact same path as the section of the canal where Shema's body was pulled out.
Okay, that's a huge connection. The ex-husband's business is right there.
A massive geographical link. But it wasn't just the where, it was also the what.
The sack.
The very sack she was found in. It was identified as a specific type commonly used in his line of work for packaging and transporting fruits and vegetables. A shwal kathar wafakiha.
So the location and the materials used to hide the body point directly to his business.
Yes. You have the victim, you have the ex-husband, you have his warehouse on the canal path, and you have the exact type of sack he uses daily involved in the murder concealment. It formed a very tight, undeniable triangle.
Too many coincidences to ignore. What happened when they confronted him?
They got a warrant, went to the warehouse, and Ammar el-Shaimi apparently showed immediate signs of stress. Real visible tension toward her.
Did they find anything incriminating inside the warehouse?
Oh, yeah. During the search, they found stacks of sacks identical to the one Shema was found in, and huge amounts of rope, the same kind used to bind her body and weight the sack. The materials were just part of his everyday business inventory.
The evidence was literally surrounding him. Did he confess?
Eventually, yes, he broke down and confessed, and the story he told filled in the gaps, revealing just how toxic their history was.
How did they even meet?
It started back in 2011, and remember Shema's father, right? Apparently the father essentially engineered the connection, seeing Ammar's wealth as an opportunity. Ammar and Shema got married secretly, an Urfi marriage.
Secretly, meaning his first wife didn't know.
Exactly. For 2 years, it was completely clandestine. Then Shema had a son. After the baby was born, Ammar decided to make the marriage official, formalize it. He wanted his son raised with his other kids. He had 6 with his first wife.
So they were officially married for another 2 years, while he was still married to his first wife.
Correct. A recipe for disaster, really. The first wife was understandably consumed by jealousy. The pressure she put on Ammar was immense, constant.
Until he couldn't take it anymore.
Pretty much. He divorced Shema in late 2015, largely, it seems, due to the relentless pressure from the first wife. She likely thought she'd won, that Shema was out of the picture.
But she wasn't, was she?
No. Only about 4 months after the divorce, Shema reached out to Ammar again. The initial reason given was so she could see their son.
Plausible enough.
But it didn't stop there. They resumed their relationship, though not formally remarried this time.
And Shamer's father. And her new husband in Alexandria. Were they okay with this?
Tacitly, yes, because money was involved. Ammar was wealthy, and that seemed to smooth things over for them. But someone wasn't okay with it.
The first wife.
The first wife found out they were seeing each other again, and this time her approach was different, more insidious.
How so? What did she do?
This is what investigators started calling the whispering campaign, Alzan ala alwidan, literally like buzzing in the ears.
A whispering campaign. What did that mean?
Instead of direct confrontation, she started planting seeds of doubt, poison. She constantly, relentlessly chipped away at Ammar's mind.
About what?
She didn't just complain about the affair, she started insinuating things about the past, accusing Shema of cheating on him during their marriage, and crucially, she began questioning the paternity of their son, over and over again.
Wow, so psychological warfare.
Exactly. Pure manipulation, constantly suggesting he'd been deceived, that the child might not even be his. She fed his insecurities, stoked his ego, painted Shema as this treacherous figure who had dishonored him.
And Ammar, despite being the successful merchant, Fell for it.
Completely. This constant drip, drip, drip of suspicion and accusation drove him into this state of extreme paranoia. It warped his perception, made him see Shema not as a former partner, but as someone who had utterly betrayed him. The sources describe his state as almost barbaric hamagia. The whispering campaign manufactured this intense, almost blind rage.
So that paranoia, fueled by the first wife's campaign, led him to plan the murder.
Yes, he decided to take revenge. He devised a plan to lure Shema to the warehouse. He knew she was staying alone in Cairo at the time, away from her family or current husband. Easy target.
And the lure was simple.
Deceptively simple. He told her to come to the warehouse to see their son, something she clearly wanted to do.
So she walks right into the trap.
She did. As soon as she arrived, he overpowered her, locked her inside a room he'd apparently prepared within the warehouse.
And the torture began then.
That night. According to his confession, the abuse lasted for 2 full days.
2 days.
2 days, he beat her. Then he bound her tightly to a bed, hands and feet, using those same ropes from his business. He started this around midnight, knowing the area was deserted. No witnesses, no one to hear anything.
Just unimaginable cruelty drawn out over 48 hours.
Calculated, sustained cruelty. After those 2 days, when he decided he was done torturing her, he strangled her with a rope.
And then, back to meticulous planning.
Immediately, he transitioned right back into the careful merchant mode, bound her entire body with more ropes, placed her inside one of his large fruit sacks, then he got the heavy stones and secured them to the bottom.
Ensuring it would sink and stay sunk.
Precisely. Then he waited. Until about 3 a.m., the dead of night again, he called a coworker, someone who drove one of his transport trucks.
Did the coworker know what was happening?
No. Amr lied. He told the coworker they needed to dump some spoiled produce that was starting to smell. Said they'd take it to a distant part of the canal, away from the main routes.
So the coworker unknowingly helped him dispose of the body.
Exactly. Thinking he was just getting rid of some rotten fruit and vegetables, he drove Amr and the heavy sack to the spot and they dumped it into the canal.
Amar must have thought he'd gotten away with it completely. Planned down to the last detail.
He probably did. But that meticulous waiting, the very thing meant to hide her forever, ironically led to the discovery when the sack got snagged near the bank 2.5 months later.
When he was caught, did he try to justify it?
He did. During the investigation, he attempted to frame it as an honor-killing Rad Sharaf, claiming he was defending his honor after being deceived.
But the investigators didn't buy that.
Not for a second. An honor killing is often argued as a crime of sudden passion, uncontrollable rage. This involved days of planning, 2 days of cold-blooded torture, elaborate concealment. It was the opposite of spontaneous. Amar was clearly a calculating individual.
And the court agreed.
They did. His defense was dismissed. Amr el-Shaimi was found guilty of premeditated murder.
What was the sentence?
He was sentenced to death. Al-Idam.
It's a brutal story, obviously rooted in Shema's difficult life circumstances. But the real catalyst seems to be external.
Absolutely. While her family background made her vulnerable, perhaps, the direct trigger, the mechanism for the murder, was that whispering campaign, that persistent toxic manipulation from the first wife. It proved incredibly destructive, arguably more so than any direct confrontation could have been. It turned Amr's jealousy into homicidal rage.
It really makes you think about the power of that kind of sustained psychological pressure, that insidious influence. For Amr, the poison wasn't really in his direct interactions with Shema anymore.
No, it was in the lies, the doubts, the accusations, constantly whispered or maybe shouted into his ear by someone else. It leaves you with a really chilling question, doesn't it? How often is prolonged, malicious, psychological manipulation the unseen driver behind tragedies that we might otherwise label simply as domestic violence or crimes of passion? Something to definitely think about.